First up, we want to still the activity in the brain as much as we can so it can wind down, repair, and consolidate memories during quality sleep. We know that in good sleep, the brain slows down, so we want to encourage this process. Remember our big picture, active to sleep ready. An overactive mind is, well, it's in the name, active. We need to wind down our mind so we can fall asleep. I can hear you say, it's impossible to do. Just stay with me. There are some things you need to understand to be able to do this. So here's a meme. When you can't get to sleep, but you have to wake up early. This guy is stressing about the past and the future at the same time. Our brain has the ability to conceptualize the past and the future. This is great for problem solving, learning from our mistakes and planning. But if we linger on these thoughts as we are trying to get to sleep, the brain and body will be influenced into thinking that it has to do something. So this will hinder us from getting into a sleep-ready state. When the mind is active, think of it like the body is on standby for moving. This is the opposite of winding down to being in a sleep-ready state. The brain, body, and its chemicals are so integrated. We are an open system, meaning changes to one system affects other systems, both positively and negatively. So when we think about what has happened in the past, this can trigger emotions and feelings in the present, even when we are closing our eyes and think we are aiming for sleep. With a sleep focus, the body and brain think it has to do something, as opposed to the whole body and mind studying the chemical and autonomic processes of winding down. Let's unpack this more. The way I like to describe our brain is that it has speeds. Think of the brain as being a computer and the mind as being the software or apps, what and how we think. With the sleep focus, picture the mind as having a range of thinking lots down to thinking not much. Not thinking much is where we are going to be able to wind down into sleep. Well, what is thinking lots and not thinking much? Well, when we are trying to get to sleep, our eyes may be closed, but we might be thinking about 50 different things. Is the fridge closed? What do I have to do at work tomorrow? I wonder if that guy at footy thinks I'm weird. Probably should put the car in for service. I feel really bad about what I said 3 years ago. Geez, I'm looking forward to going surfing next week, and so on, and so on, and so on. Think of each thought like an app on your computer, using up a lot of power and not being able to shut down quickly. Also, we are dealing with thoughts in the future and in the past, but rarely in the present now. Additionally, if these thoughts elicit strong emotions, we now have the body thinking it should be ready for something it has to do. And doing is the opposite of winding down. The present moment is where we have to be, but we need to understand a few more things. So the way I like to explain past and future thinking is that it takes more energy and faster brainwaves compared to focusing on what's happening with second-to-second awareness. It's literally conceptualizing something that isn't happening right now. The body, though, is really good at focusing on the now. Taste, touch, smell, sight, listening. These are senses that can only perceive what is happening in the moment. The senses can't sense things in the future or the past. This is the mind imagining it or conceptualizing it. If we can guide our mind to act in the same way as our senses, it will assist us in winding down the mind to a sleep-ready state and then be able to nod off to sleep. So, to do this, we need to replace thinking with feeling and sensing. Feeling and sensing is in the now. Once you get good at changing your focus from past and future thinking to a more narrow focus of feeling and sensing with a second-to-second awareness, you're going to find it easier to fall asleep. One of my main principles of sleep is we need to wind down all the systems of the body to a low idle to experience nourishing sleep. All right, here's a framework that meditation theorists and hypnotherapists use to describe the speeds of the brain. The purposeful action of winding down the mind in meditation is kind of the same process as going to sleep. Only with meditation, we still want our mind to be aware, but not thinking. So I do recommend you practice meditation during the day to learn the skill of slowing the energy of your brain down. Okay, I'm going to talk about the 4 types of brain waves that are relevant for us going from an awake state to a sleep state. The first is beta brainwaves. Depending on the literature you read, you'll find the range is from about 12 hertz to 30 hertz. What's a hertz? What are hertz? Well, where the guitar string, the note A440, vibrates or oscillates 440 times a second. So this means that beta brainwaves are oscillating 12 to 30 times a second. Slower than beta is alpha, which is 8 hertz to 12 hertz. Theta is next at 4 hertz to 8 hertz, and then just above 0.2 hertz to 4 hertz is delta. So low to mid-range beta is where analytical thinking and problem-solving thoughts are being executed. General, not emotional thinking is happening. At a high range like towards 27 hertz, it is associated with an inability to relax, anxiety, and fear-related thinking. The brain is running very hot up there, so it's very active. When you're stressed, under the pump, and under time constraints, you're in a high beta state, and you'll most definitely be feeling some stressful emotions at the same time. Not a time where the brain and body are set up to get to sleep easily. Next is alpha. It is associated with not thinking, pleasant feelings, meditative brain waves, relaxation, and general calm. There's a bit of research out there that says that it's the super learning state. Alpha brainwaves are associated with being relaxed and not thinking about the future or past. In relation to sleep, I call it the doorway to sleep, because if we can get down from beta brainwave thinking, particularly high beta, and down to alpha, we will have a greater and quicker chance of nodding off to sleep. Theta is associated with deep meditation, sleep, and is also a state where hypnotherapists work. So with a sleep focus, we want to guide our brainwave states to alpha and theta states. These are stages of no action and no thoughts about the future or past. The deepest and slowest brainwaves are delta. This is associated with a loss of body awareness and deep sleep. Delta brainwaves are involved with the most restorative sleep stage. So if you're lying in bed, eyes closed, and you're thinking about someone, something, or an event that happened in the past or possible future, you are in a beta state. This is a thinking state. It keeps the brain active and running. When we think about the past or the future, it's not relaxed enough for it to wind down. The brain thinks we are needing to do something, and therefore the body on some level will be in a state of readiness to take action. It's not ready to fall asleep. Thinking about the past and or future makes the brain and then the body think it is going to do something. Therefore, it's not sleep ready. It's very important for you to understand this. Here's an analogy. It's kind of like you're on a push bike and you're not pedaling. If you continue not pedaling, the bike will slow down and you'll fall over. But just before you fall over, you pedal again, and that can continue the forward momentum of the bike. That's kind of like how a thought works. It keeps your brain moving. I call this scenario thought momentum or inertia. Thoughts keep the brain active and can prevent you from powering down and entering a sleep-ready state. Thoughts can get right in the way of trying to get to sleep. One thought can trigger all sorts of automatic thoughts and, worse, negative thoughts. These negative thoughts trigger emotions, and now you've got the body engaged and not wanting to get into a sleep-ready state. I have techniques for you to practice to stop thought momentum in the do part of this module. So now that you have a basic understanding of the brain framework, we can now move on to how to get out of beta and into alpha theta, which will enable us to fall asleep.